I want to thank you for coming today. I have with me Vivian Preston-Sellers, who is going to be our president next year, the year that we're budgeting right now, and Thrane Jensen. This is Thrane's last year budgeting fellowship's future, and I somehow think that perhaps he's glad that it's the last year, but he's gotten so good at it that we kept him an extra year. Thrane, what's the process for putting a budget together for the fellowship?
Well, Scott, thanks for the introduction. In January, program areas, peoples in various committees will get together and they'll start meeting and getting together what they need, including staff, and they will get these numbers to our interim minister, Lisa, and at the same time, I will start going over what we're spending in the current year and how under or over budget we are on various items with the bookkeeper and our congressional administrator. You know, our electricity use is a lot down a lot since we installed solar panels at UUFA, but our need for technical services to record our Sunday services has gone up a lot. So every year is a little different. We gather that together and we get talk a little bit at the finance committee over with the minister, and we talk about salaries and fair compensation levels according to UUA guidelines, which we'll get into in a little bit. And we'll get a smaller group together, the minister, the president, myself, and other people representing ministry, and we'll come up with our priorities. And this year was really easy what our number one item was. We'll get to that in a minute. And we decide what we can try to go for.
Okay. Vivian, did you have any questions for?
This is just a proposed budget, and I think there were only 5 of us, right, that were working on the proposed budget. Right. And that process was new to me, and I wanted you to talk a little bit, Thrane, about how we go through that line by line.
We do go line by line through the entire budget and look at why did we spend more on this? And why? The copier is broken, so we didn't make any copies. Line by line, and looking at the hours that people work and how much they're paid according to these guidelines. We'll talk about it in a minute. Yes, it can take, as we've got it down previously, to 2 hours. It's not surprising it took a little longer since we've got a new cast of characters. And we got it about 3 hours. We got pretty good budget put together this year.
Okay. What are the major priorities for the proposed 21-22 budget?
As I said, number one was pay our mortgage. We are coming back to our building and we're going to pay for it. So in the current year, 2021, we're still living where we're paying 3 months of our mortgage out of the capital campaign that UUFA funds. And we asked for and received a month of no mortgage payment from the bank in the current fiscal year, and we'll get to pay that month a few years down the line. So we need to come up with about $13,000 for that. And every year we try to keep cost of living increases for our staff so that we don't fall so far behind that we have to come up with an even larger amount of money to compensate fairly according to UUA guidelines. So there's a cost of living increase. To attract a new settled minister, we'll need to raise salaries to be of the ministerial salary to be competitive. Not that ministers are necessarily money grubbers, but when you have 2 congregations and one pays $10,000 less than the other, it makes it maybe the choice becomes a little easier for the minister.
Mhm.
So we're a little bit behind in what we aspire to be as a congregational and paying, attracting a settled minister. We also have the search for the settled minister. That process of doing the search may be a little cheaper in these times, but it's difficult to tell. So we're trying to budget appropriately for those search costs and make sure we make the best possible choice in a settled minister we can. Additionally, we look at the UUA guidelines on salary, which breaks down the country by zones all over the country, and we're in one of the lower cost zones. But UUA, according to their figures, on average, our compensation is still a little bit low in some areas. So we're attempting to fix that.
Mhm.
So Thrane, if we have prioritized all of these things and we have our usual expenses, what are we asking for in pledges to cover everything?
To cover that number one item, the mortgage, we're asking to get our pledging back to where we were in the year ending June 30th, 2020. So last year we had a budget about 350,000 and our budget in pledges fell. So we first need to get up there. That's about 3%, 3.5% to get back to that level increase in either number of people pledging or people pledge, not the amount of pledge. And then we're looking for an additional 6.5% to do all these other priorities. And that brings the total amount of pledges we're asking for is 373,000.
Okay. So that's about 10% over last year, but not more than about 7% over the year before. That seems like a reasonable thing. Why is it so important to make a pledge rather than just an occasional donation?
We can look at what people have pledged in the past, but we can't depend on that. We can't build a budget based on that. We can't pay people salary based on, well, maybe they'll give this much again this year. We use pledges to build our budget so we can do the work we do in our congregation. So we need the pledges, and we also want to know if people are still engaged. So even if you can't give as much as you have in the past, we still urge everyone to put a pledge in so we know people are engaged.
Mm.
So how many pledge units have we had in the past, and how many pledge units did we have last year? I'm understanding that there were fewer pledge units last year. Do you have any kind of rationale about why?
There were definitely people I talked to who didn't believe they could make a pledge with the financial uncertainty of the pandemic year. We had a little bit closer to 150 pledging households, units, however you want to term it. This year we're down to about 136, and that accounts for a lot of the loss of pledging that we've had. And we've actually down a little bit in recent years, and we're hoping to come out of this pandemic back to packing the sanctuary out as I remember it did a few times after we reopened. So this should get maybe a little bit easier.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, to having standing room only. That'd be great. Okay, so I just want to make a comment here. I did, like you, I talked to a number of people who were having a lot of difficulty, not financially at the moment, but a lot of difficulty projecting what was going to happen to them in COVID-19 times. And so they were very reluctant to pledge. I think we've come past that. People feel a little bit more comfortable about where they are. I do want to emphasize, if you cannot pledge, you can do something like a very small pledge, $5 a month, which is not a great deal of money. Keeps you on the rolls, keeps us knowing that you're still around, puts us in contact with you and you in contact with us. So a small pledge for people who are still having difficulty with COVID-19 economics would be very much appreciated and assure the link between you and the congregation. What if the pledges exceed the amount that we are asking for?
Should that amazing scenario occur, Scott, we have some one-time costs coming up that extra money could be useful for. Of course, with after the settled minister search, we will have to move the new settled minister to Athens, Georgia, to be our minister, and that costs a fair amount. So that one-time cost, if we took care of it this year, we wouldn't be looking to fund it next year. Additionally, we could do additional work with salaries in our congregation. Let's see, that's what I can think of at the moment, Scott.
Oh, we have some program needs that we've sort of pinched down during COVID-19. People aren't in the building, so we didn't need a lot of the things that we would normally have. And as we come out of COVID-19, we are going to have to start these programs up again. So we have expenses like that. And there are always expenses. They come up unexpectedly. The air conditioner crashes, things like that. So there are places we can use money. Vivian, did you have any other questions?
No questions, but if you still have need for more information, there is a page on the UUFA website at uuathensga.org/stewardship/pledge, where you can get more information. And also it has a link to your page on Realm so that you can pledge on Realm. If that is not something that you're comfortable doing, you can also ask for a paper form by a link on that page. We already have 13 pledges as I speak for next year's budget. So we're hoping that you will go to the website and go ahead and do your pledge as early as possible. We're hoping all pledges in by March the 28th so that the task force team to put together the finalized budget will have time to do that. If you are unsure about how much to pledge, also on that page on the website is a link to the Fair Share Contribution Guide put out by the UUA so that you can gain information about percentages and that kind of thing in terms of making your pledge. So pledge early.
Okay. I just want to emphasize the timing on this. Thrane, what is the timing on all of this activity to finally get to a final budget?
We'd like to get all the pledges in by the 1st of April. So I believe we've set a deadline at the end of March. It helps as early as we know how much we have to work with. It helps a lot for figuring out what we can fund and what we may not be able to fund. So if it's all done early April, it makes it so much easier. And of course, we will continue to take pledges, but the budget does get set at some point. So,
And we have a budget town hall meeting on April the 18th for people to ask questions about the budget. So please get your pledges in early so that by April the 18th, we will have a formalized budget to present.
And then the board will need to vote on it, and we will need to send out a few paper copies. So that's 10 days notice. And so that we can make it for the May 16th congregational meeting. So we won't have a lot of time after the town hall to get our final budget together.
So if the pledges come in early, you, Vivian, and I get to sleep at night. Is that pretty much it?
Yes.
That sounds pretty
Okay.
good.
Vivian, any other questions for Thrane?
Nope, nothing for me.
Thrane, did you have any other comments to make about the budget?
Oh, I'm just really enjoyed working with you and Vivian this year on my final budget for this round, this go of being treasurer of UUFA. And I'd like to thank you for all the work you've put in.
Well, Thrane, I think most of the work has gone to you. So we just sort
Amen.
of ride on your coattail. Thank you very much. And I hope that people will understand that if they can get their pledges in by the end of March so that we can cast out this budget, display it at the town hall, and not have too many changes between the town hall and the time that we vote on it at the congregational meeting in May, that will work to everyone's benefit. And I want to thank you for seeing this video, and you have a good day, maybe even a great one.